go ahead and get started. If people wander in, then they'll wander in, that'll be cool. So I got some of you who have already played today, and some of you have not played today, right? And we're all just kind of hanging out. So what I've got for you today, I'm going to talk, hopefully at the end, we're going to talk over these kind of like some philosophical concepts about what it means to be a great musician, what you kind of need to expect going on if you want to develop real musicianship, some ways to go about it, and just some things to keep in the back of your mind as you're developing as a young musician. At the end, since we have a group that almost is complete, we could probably get together and do some playing and work on some of that stuff. We don't have a bass player, we have a guitar player, which is good. So that's cool, so we can kind of cover that thing. So the reason I thought about this title is like, what is musicianship? It's really different for you guys growing up than it was for my generation and the generations before. You're like approaching and you're seeing music very differently. You're seeing mostly what I would describe as content. Does that make sense to you guys? You guys heard that? Like everybody's concerned with content. What do I mean by that? Anybody know? What's content?
Like social media ones?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm going with it. So the most important thing, so what I'm seeing with a lot of young students, and I taught college for a long time, for about 15 years, and I've taught high school and middle school and all sorts of stuff and privately and played a lot of professional, is now there's a lot of players who can play certain things at a really high level. There's a lot of people who are kind of lagging behind in musicianship, and the middle's kind of gotten to the basic musician is kind of not there like it used to be. And because I think people are kind of really concerned with being being content creators versus being musicians. So I think it's good to go back and look at the things that are the tried and true ways to become a great musician. So a great musician is going to translate and be someone who can create art versus something that's going to just be there for a second on the phone and then someone goes whoosh, and it's gone. So art lasts. Content doesn't really last. And you guys haven't really grown up being able to see that because you didn't see how it was kind of before. So I just want to talk about those things. So I'm thinking about the elements of musicianship, and hopefully we can work at some of these things and play at the end of the day. You're a master of melody and harmony. Does it matter what you play for that? For melody and harmony? It doesn't matter. Does it matter if you're a drummer? For melody and harmony? No, no way. And in fact, some of the musicians with the best ears that I've worked with are drummers. I always find that the drummer is the first one to tell the band, hey, you know what? That's not actually the right note on that melody. Or you know what? That chord doesn't sound right. Because they get a chance to listen from the drum chair. So you should be able to understand harmony and melody and get to the piano. Some of the drummers I know are some of the best pianists I know as well. Okay, so even if you're in an instrument that doesn't play the melody all the time, you have to know the melody. And if you're somebody who doesn't play the harmony all the time, you have to get there and do the harmony. Okay, so you're a master of melody harmony, you're working it all the time. Of course, we're playing in tune. Why would I say we're not supposed to, or why would I say play in tune? Isn't that obvious to you guys? Right, well, you're working on it, you need to be working on it away from the what? The computer, the phone. You have to develop, and the clinicians and I were talking about this, you have to be able to hear pitch on your own. You don't need perfect pitch or any of that stuff. You need to just be able to work on it and work on your ways of playing in tune. We can do that stuff. So that really has to be paramount. And a good musician has good feel and good time. And what's the difference between feel and time? And I'm talking about horn players too. A good horn player stands up and they make you want to move. It's because they've got good feel and good time. They're actually two different things. Does anybody have anything to say? All your answers are just as important as anybody else's. So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts? This is a round table discussion, not just me putting stuff out there. What do you know about time and feel? What do you got there?
I think feel is like what would sound good, like within time, sort of.
Right. So you can be completely in time. So a lot of you guys, how many of you guys have like done the whole creating content thing for social media or anything? You guys do any of that? Do videos or anything like that? Yeah, you do a little bit of that. So a lot of those guys that are doing that, I'm finding if I do listen to it, they're able to play in time because they've got a click. But it might be kind of missing the human feel. Feel is a human thing. It's the way we're able to feel subdivisions the way a computer can't. We can play in between the cracks. We can say that's a nice, wide, triplet, laid-back feel. Or we can play something like reggae. You guys ever listen to reggae stuff like Bob Marley? that is impossible to play with a click or something because you have to play right in the middle. That's not swung and that's not straight. It's something all its own. And you'll never be able to program it. That's like a human thing. So having a feel and good time. Don't just practice playing in time. We can do some of the methods that I do with that. Playing with phrasing. A good musician. Does a drummer play with phrasing? Yeah, you have to push all the phrases. You have to have phrases that are constructed in two parts. Question and answer. You have to have space in your playing. So something you need to be thinking. Am I playing with good phrasing? And when I'm on drums, what I would do is play heads to the tune. That goes back to melody, right? So if you've got a tune you're doing in jazz band, can you play it on the head? Or can you play it on the heads like a tune? It doesn't have to be exact pitches. You're not going to get that, right? But can you play the melody and play the phrase? So everybody needs to do that. Dynamics. The reason I mention that is because in the computerized kind of world, people don't play with a lot of dynamics anymore because they want it to sound good on the phone. And how do you make it sound good on the phone? You edit it and you compress it. It's called compression. You make it all the same volume so that someone's like, oh, I can't hear that part, I can't. But real music is exciting because it's loud, it's soft, it's surprising, it's tender, it does all these things, it's exciting. You know, it's got to move and play dynamics. So people, young players that I'm working with, they're kind of forgetting to play dynamics. You got to work with that. You got to play good articulation. You got to play with varied emotion. And this is a big one. I've said this in all bands at the clinic today. Spend time critically listening. So somebody described their listening habits for me. What's your listening habit? This is a big one I'm interested in. Just tell me, like, how do you listen? What's your listening habits right now?
Oh, like what do I listen to?
Yeah, what do you listen to? How do you listen to it? How do you work with it?
Definitely not like what I play. It's a lot of like, I listen to a lot of electronic music.
Okay, cool.
Like computer-generated stuff.
Computer-generated stuff, so you're not listening to what you end up playing in jazz band.
No.
Right, so
not like in my free time.
Yeah, right, so that can be an issue. What are you listening to?
I like anything that's just written really, really well. Doesn't really matter the genre.
Yeah.
Something that, because I'm a huge like music theory nerd.
Uh-huh.
So like anything that really makes me think about what's the theory behind this, like why does it sound this way?
Yeah.
Just really captivates me.
Yeah, so you're interested in the structures and the construction. That means you're doing some critical listening. What about over here? What are you listening to?
I know it might sound kind of weird, but I'm a theater kid. I listen to a lot of musical stuff.
It's not weird. It's really well-written stuff, right?
Yeah,
It's good.
I mean, I didn't write it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's cool stuff. It's well-written. It's well-written to convey emotion,
Yeah.
right? Which is something that's kind of lacking a little bit in music. I'm seeing less and less playing with real emotion. So I think that's great, listening stuff. What are you guys listening to back here on drums? What you guys got?
I listen to like every type of music.
Okay, what's like anything specific? Like I can tell you, you know, exactly right now what I'm listening to. I'm listening to late Beatles, and I'm studying to Let It Be On.
I listen to rock,
Yeah.
jazz, rap.
Yeah?
A lot.
Uh-huh.
A lot of things.
Did you want to chime in? I thought I started again.
For me, with critical listening as wise, when it comes to classical music, which is something that I listen to about half the time, I do a lot more critical listening there on things that are more concerning to classical music than I would when I'm listening to jazz.
Yeah.
Where I kind of have a more laid back feel. I'll still listen to what they're playing, but not as critically and as I will with classical.
Yeah. So you need to, I have this later in my thing, everybody needs to spend time critically listening. If you don't do it, if music's just something that kind of washes over you, that's probably not a good idea. You need to like sit down and find out what you really like, why you like it, what's going on, how can I emulate it, know who the players are, you know, what the genre is, what the instrumentation is. And the other thing is you need to play, and you guys are already doing this because you took band, you're playing with other humans without a computer. So the pandemic was interesting. I saw a lot of people doing a lot of cool collaborations with acapella and all those programs. They're pretty cool. But in order to do that, there's a mediator. What's the mediator in between? A computer. Like there always has to be a computer putting in a click. We all have to be, it's all got to be grid perfect for us to play together. That was always going to take away a human element. You need to spend time. Like when you're young like this, you should be excited to go over to someone's house and all over the basement and let's jam. You know, it sounds like kind of hokey, man, let's jam. But you need to be doing that and get with other human beings and learn how to play with other human beings, hear what they're playing, respond, and do it in a human way. The other thing, a good musician has a good sound. And in order to find a good sound, you have to find something to emulate. Now, you may be one of those lucky people who in your head, you already got a great sound. I know my trumpet's supposed to sound like I've got a good sound. Or you might be someone who needs to like get a role model. So does anybody have a role model for their sound? I do. I'm a bass player. So when I play the bass, I want to have this big immersive sound like Charlie Hayden. Does anybody know who Charlie Hayden is? Okay. He's a famous bass player for a long time, and he had this sound that he could just play, and he played like just one note. It sounded like the entire universe. You could fit inside that beautiful note, and it had a lot of emotion, and it was really big. And he had this just gorgeous sound. So you need to pick someone who you like their sound. Like, who's a trumpet player that you like their sound?
I forgot his name. He's the guy with the trumpet, the bell is like bent up. You know that
Is
guy?
he Gillespie?
Yes, that's the guy.
Yeah, so if you're going to be into that sound, you got to listen to his sound. And what you have to do if you're into that sound, you have to play along and fit inside his sound. So literally, I was just talking about this with the clinicians. If you have a favorite record, and even if it's electronic music or whatever, put on the record and play with the record. You don't have to get some cool play-along program. Find your favorite album and play along right over the top and get inside the sound. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, get inside the sound that they produce. Because you need to have like a concept in your mind of what it's going to sound like, not just whatever is going to come out of the horn. Oh, it's going to be a trumpet. No, I need to have the sound in my mind first. So a good musician, a musician with good musicianship has a concept of sound. You got to be able to sight read, and you got to be able to play by ear these days. You got to be able to do both. Everybody's more towards one or the other. If you're a classical guy, maybe you're a reader, right? Right? If you're a guy who didn't do any classical stuff, and maybe you're a guitar player or something, maybe you're more of an ear guy. You know, it doesn't matter. I was always more of an ear guy until I got older and I had to get my reading skills together. I started playing a lot of shows and stuff like that. Luckily, I was able to do it. So I got the call. Every guy knows what the Fox Theater is, right? So Fox Theater, their bass player, the show was in town called Sister Act. Bass player, his mom has a stroke. She has to leave. I get 16 hours notice. I got to go down to the Fox. I've got no rehearsal, and I have to play a show, live show that night. Okay? So the reason I can do that is because I spent years and every day, and I'll say this later, doing what? Sight reading. So I had to go in and be able to sight read. You got to be. You don't know what's going to come of that. You know, later on that leads to other opportunities, right? Pretty cool. You got to be able to play by ear, learn stuff by ear, and you got to play with a unique, diverse voice and personality. So you guys, from the very beginning, should believe that you're unique and you have something to say. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? Like, no one's going to play like you. You're going to have people you want to emulate sound and stuff like that. But right away, kind of start thinking about who you are and what's your personality when you play. And a musician is punctual and prepared. Okay, there's a lot of times when I get to the gig and everybody's like, well, where's the piano player? Not there. What happens to the piano player? They lose the gig, right? Or I'm on a gig and it doesn't go well because one person doesn't know the music. That guy's gone, so you got to know. Have an open mind. When you're like, was it like electronic EDM or what are you into?
Yeah, well, in my free time, like if I were
Yeah.
to sit down and do some homework, that's
Yeah.
what I'd listen to.
Yeah. The first thing I think of that is like, that's cool. I should check some of that out. And what am I into in that genre? Have an open mind about everything. There's nothing off limits. Music's music, right? It's cool. You guys chose jazz bands can inform a lot of stuff. And the other thing is grit and determination. Meaning, if you're working on something you can't do it yet, you got to keep working. That's huge. So these skills. You have to be able to, if I go to the next part, then I broke this down by the skills of musicianship. And you got to start these from the beginning. It says the ability to learn from mistakes. What do I mean by that? To reframe. Who already knows how to do that? Like, I've been, like, when I was your age, I went to a jazz festival and made a big mistake. Am I going to, berate myself on the way home? Or am I going to reframe it? Right, what do I mean by that? Make sure you know what that means and you can immediately think reframing. Oh man, I missed that, I need to reframe that, and that means this. Who knows already how to reframe? What do you mean by reframing?
Maybe like putting into perspective what you did wrong, but not like thinking of maybe as something that you did wrong. Because you did do it wrong, but that doesn't mean that you're going to do it wrong every time. It gives you the opportunity to fix it for next time.
Right. Always think of it. Immediately, any mistake you make, like if today you're in the performance and you didn't hit something you were supposed to, like I had this big, when I was your age, I'm a bass player. I had this big bass solo from the beginning of a Mahler symphony. And I was doing it, and there's like it was a big district. All the district orchestras were going up there. And of course, I missed part of it. Okay? But that's an opportunity for me to reframe it immediately and say, oh, well, number one, I probably should have worked on my thumb position more. Number two, and I'll talk about that later, I probably should have had it memorized if it's a solo. Probably shouldn't have tried to like just kind of go over and be ready. Reframe it. It's immediately I say, oh, well, how can I improve that for next time? So forgive yourself right away for mistakes and just reframe it. That's like a big deal. Some people get so obsessed with perfection because they see all these great people on YouTube, like shredding. Don't take that route. Okay? So you have the ability to play a melody on drums. We talked about that. You have the ability to adjust the pitch level. Here's something that's very interesting about nowadays. When you guys are like hearing music, do you know that it's all adjusted pitch-wise to be exactly at 440 at equal temperament? But that's not always going to happen today. Who's played already today? Because I've heard you been. Some of the bands, and a lot of the bands, are playing slightly sharp because of the weather, this and that, right? So you still can play in tune and play at a different pitch level. That's something you have to kind of learn how to do. The ability to hear equal temperament versus just intonation. So now, you guys are in band. Does anybody do ensembles, like do your solo ensemble? Yeah. Has anybody talked to you about how you're supposed to tune when you do that? Like why it sounds sweeter when you hear those small groups, what you're actually doing, and you're doing it, you don't even know you're doing it. But it's something you can work on. It's called just intonation. So when you're playing with a piano, equal temperament, everything's equally out of tune. And you have to be able to learn to put everything in that spot. But when you're playing in a small ensemble, you can adjust everything so that it all rings. So I'm not expecting to teach you this today, but I want you to take this and I want you to do some research and find out what just intonation is and how I can learn to do that with small ensembles, and it will improve your small ensemble playing. So that means not playing with a computer or a fixed keyboard that's in equal temperament. The ability to transpose a melody and a chord progression. Who in here thinks they can do that? Can they transpose? A little bit?
A little bit.
Horn players, like saxophone players and trumpet players and stuff, like sometimes you just have to do it. We're lucky if we're in the bass clef doing our thing. We're going to we're not going to have to deal with transposition because we're in a C instrument already, which is great. C instrument, guitar, right? C instrument over there. But you guys need to be able to transpose. Start working on it. How do you work on that? How did my teacher have me do it? Pick a tune a day. It can be Mary Had a Little Lamb. Pick up your horn. Play it in whatever key you want to do. Maybe it's like B flat because you're in there every day. Then the next day, don't make it too hard on yourself. The next day, play it in another key. Play it in E flat. And then do that with another tune. Then pick a little bit of harder tune. It could be a tune that you like. It could be a show tune because they're well constructed, right? From a musical. Take that. Take it through all 12 keys. Start thinking about that from the very beginning you're playing. Okay? Chord progressions. Who here deals with chord progressions? No, everybody does. You guys all have to know the chords to your tunes when you do it. And the reason you do is because if you don't, you're not going to know where your lines fit in, and the instrument that everybody has to play is right there. Who has access to a keyboard at home? You should go to it every single day. Every single day and start figuring stuff out. Every single day. Figure out the chords that go to stuff. Start doing it from the very beginning and know chord progression. Okay, now all these things that are just I'm going to go through these quick. The ability to play long, short, slurred, accented notes, articulation. The ability to create a time feel without a click or a metronome. Okay, this is for every instrument. How do you work on that? You play and you record yourself. We all have this, right? Voice memos. Open it up. Play something, whatever it is. You're working on your solo, you're working on a tune for whatever, you're working on your time, you might be working on a classical piece or whatever, or working on some comic for a jazz thing. Then listen back and tap along, and does it feel good? And notice, oh, well, you know what? I actually tend to speed up, or I tend to slow down. You don't need to check it with some sort of computer program. You already know. Okay? So be checking that you can play without a click or a metronome. That's important. The ability to recognize and play different styles. So that means you should be able to play a jazz band, and within jazz band be able to play the rock, play the bossa nova, stuff like that. A good musician does that. The ability to play very slow or fast, you have to practice that. If you always practice fast, believe it or not, you won't be able to play slow. You'll rush. You have to practice both, and vice versa. You have to be able to play and count all the subdivisions and master the triplet. I'm going to stop right here. So if we're doing this, everybody just give me a snap. 1, 2, 3, 4. What Keep us all together. Okay, his idea is 1, 2, 3, that's quarter notes. Who has another idea? 1 and 2. Anybody do anything else? Nothing else in the head? Okay, for you guys, when we're in jazz band, the most important subdivision I say is master the triplet. So let's do that again, and can we do doodlas? Can we say doodla, 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 1, 2 in your head, and doodla, 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 doodla. Stop. You notice how all of a sudden it's got a pocket. It has what we were talking at the beginning, the difference between feel and time. All American music is based on the triplet, because it all comes out of the jazz, blues, and R&B at the beginning. So you guys need to work on the triplet all the time. You should always be thinking about triplets. And earlier today, I had a band that was playing a rock tune, and the tune like went, ba, ba, and they would think, but what do you think I had to do? I had to do So everybody do 16ths and give me a backbeat. And just say 1 E and a 2 E and a, here we go. 1 and 2 4, 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2. It's sort of there. Sort of there. Now let's go. Here we go. That snap all of a sudden has attitude. You guys feel that? Can you hear that? It has attitude all of a sudden. So master the triplet. Always work on finding a place to put a triplet. Okay? The ability to break down by phrases, the ability to play soft and loud with a consistent sound. Who here practices playing super soft? That's good. A few of you. It needs to be an everyday thing. You need to practice playing a consistent sound, loud and soft, with the drums. Can you roll? Can you bring your rolls down completely to almost silent, to open rolls, to closed rolls? Do it every day. Don't skip on it. Everybody has to be able to do that. The ability to hear complex structures and absorb music quickly. Our piano player and our trumpet player, I think, was talking about that. He's interested in what the structure is behind music. Take the time to check it out. The more you check it out, the easier you'll get it. Okay? And always play with a sound that's full and inviting, meaning play with a warm sound. Check your sound and the ability to play with confidence that showcases your unique gifts. Now, here let's talk about the must-dos to improve musician. Number 1, put in the time and be patient. There are no quick fixes. When you get the YouTube ad that comes up and says, fix your guitar playing in 5 minutes, immediately you know that's a scam. There's no such thing. There's nothing in life that is a quick fix. Everything takes time, and you just have to be patient and work on things diligently. And what's going to happen, it'll go levels. Have you ever had your teachers talk to you about how you're going to struggle, and then it's going to pop, and then you're going to struggle? Or have you noticed that on your own? You'll struggle with something forever. There's a famous jazz trumpet player you should check out. He had these crazy pentatonic licks, and everybody's like, where did that come from? Well, if you talked to him at the time, he'd say he put in like 3 years of practice, and it just wouldn't come out of his horn. Wouldn't come out of his horn. And then one day, boom, but he was patient. Jimmy Smith, you guys know who that is? Oh, piano player should know Jimmy Smith. You know who Jimmy Smith is?
Heard of him.
B3 organ virtuoso. So really killer. What did he do? He actually had this like warehouse shed thing, and he stayed in there for about 2 years, just practicing, not playing out, right? And then he had his chops together. So it just takes time. You have to be willing to put in the time. Okay? Have an instrument, or have a dedicated space to practice. Does everybody have a dedicated space on practice? Yeah. Always make sure you have a space to practice. Don't try to do it, just willy-nilly around the house. Have an instrument that inspires you. Now this is a tough one. My teacher said this to me, and I had to just like pony up. Sometimes you just got to pony up for an instrument that inspires you. When you pick up your horn, does it make you want to play? If you have one from your band director or something, and it really doesn't make you want to play, ask for a better one. If you have the opportunity to buy one that's high quality, because you should want your instrument, you should want it in your hand all the time. You should always want to be playing your instrument. So have an instrument that inspires you. Okay? Now here's the big one. So I did the underline and everything. Every time you feel the urge to pick up your smartphone, stop and learn something new. Don't let the phone take away your ideas. So, some of you rolling up for the phones, right? As soon as you feel like, man, I need to check my whatever, no, boom. And then consciously, if you want to be a better musician, say, oh, you know what? I can't play Mary Had a Little Lamb in F sharp. Go to the piano and learn it. It doesn't take that long. And then you get into the habit all of a sudden, oh man, I'm kind of bored, I don't know what to do. Oh, wait a second. You know what I don't know? I'm not really great at my double paradiddles. Walk over to the kit, put the phone away, double paradiddles. Right? Something new all the time. Don't let that phone take away your ideas. Okay? And then embrace boredom. That's where creativity comes from. Don't be afraid to just like sit around with nothing and then kind of think about music. And that's when your ideas come to you. And you think, oh man, what if I did this on the horn? Or, man, you know, I've been trying to play a solo over this blues in class, my band director, and I just am trying to do it this way, but what if I tried this out? Or what if I listened to that? So embrace boredom. That's super important. And that's kind of hard for you guys because it's hard to ever be bored because you guys always have something to do, right? Does that make sense? It didn't used to be all that way. Okay, so if we're going on from there, I've got listen every day to stuff you might not like. So here's the deal. Maybe I don't like, I do. Maybe I don't like show tunes. But I'm going to take some time to listen to them, to get all sorts of stuff. Because I don't know, later down the line, I might get somebody say, hey, you know, we've got this musical we really want you to play for. And I was like, I don't really listen to musicals. I can't have that excuse. I have to say, yeah, I've heard some of those. I'd really like to get into that style. Have an open mind. Okay, do that kind of stuff. Focus on practicing what you can't do. Now, this is a big one. When you dig out your horn, you should have a routine where you warm up and you have your scales. But then after that, you immediately have to get to what you can't do. You have to be organized and know what you can't do. Don't spend time practicing what you can already do. Memorize music in common forms. Do your band directors talk to you about rhythm changes and blues and stuff like that? Anybody know what those are? Do you know forms?
It's like forms that I can think off the top of my head, like 12-bar blues.
12-bar blues, great. We got 12-bar blues, got 16-bar blues, got 24-bar blues. Anybody know what rhythm changes is?
Like when, like maybe the overall feel of the song can change to the rhythm.
Well, rhythm changes is a 32-bar type of form that you'll need to know. So start investigating forms and start memorizing as many of these forms because everything when you hear it is in a form because that's how human beings learn. Sight read every day. Here's my violin. I started on violin. My violin teacher had me do just go around. If I see a piece of music playing on a stand, pick it up, read it, put it down. His thing was he used to go like to church and he'd just take out a hymnal, he'd take it out and just flip the page and read. And I always taught like there's no crazy method to sight reading. You just have to do it. Just take up the opportunity all the time to read. Oh, so I thought, this person left their piece of music here. I should read through that real quick, see how it is. Keep sight reading all the time. You got to do it. You got to put it in your practice routine. It's a must-do. After sight reading, be able to sight sing everything you play. Okay, has anybody taken any sight singing classes or anything like that? Do they offer that in high school anymore? Any sight singing? Does anybody know what I mean by sight singing? You know what sight singing is?
Like kind of seeing what you need to play without like hearing it first.
Yeah, you should be able to hear it in your head when you look at it. The method for that is solfege or solfeggi. Has anybody ever heard of that? Your do, re, mi's? Yeah. You should get on that later on. I'm kind of skipping ahead, but you should immediately figure out what solfege is. Maybe we can do some solfege here in a little bit. Transpose songs, we talked about that. Digital click, we talked about that. Record yourself. When you use a metronome, never set it faster than your heartbeat. What does that mean? That's an interesting one. Never set it faster than your heartbeat. So what if I've got to do a tune that's here? How am I going to set the metronome?
Very slow.
That's how you're going to do the metronome. Don't go. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? Never set it faster than your heartbeat. If it has to be fast, you have it, you quarter it, you can eighth it. I always buy a metronome that goes down to, and I can put it on my phone, but goes down to 10. Find a metronome that goes the lowest possible. Okay, so that if you have a fast tune, you can knock it down. Okay? Playing live with others on stage, online is not the same. I think you guys realize that being in band, right? Isn't it fun to be in band with other people and play? It's not the same as collaborating online. And the only reason I put it in there is because the world's crazy right now. We're wearing a bunch of masks. Okay? So get together with people as much as possible. Record yourself and practice and performance review and find things you like and things to fix. Does anybody record themselves? Yeah, a little bit, maybe? Don't be afraid to practice. Say, I'm working on this. It's something I can't do. I'm going to record it, and you're going to go back without fear, and you're going to say, man, I was rushing the whole time. Man, all my double strokes are uneven. I got to get back on those. Whatever your trombone, man, my fifth position is not happening. I know I'll get back to that. Okay. So, and then, but maybe my fifth position wasn't good, but my overall sound is really getting better. You know what I mean? Or my double strokes weren't great, but my overall feel with my time stayed real steady that time. So record yourself and find things all the time. Don't be afraid to do that. Keep a practice log and schedule your practice time. Who keeps a log? Who's got a log at home of what you're practicing? Tell me what you're practicing. Anyone? Do you really have one?
Well, not a log, but I know what I'm practicing.
Yeah, write it down. Start writing it down. Dig it out. Get a notebook. Come in and say, oh, this is where I left off. I was working on triplets at 90 and the C-sharp major scale. Be very specific. That's what it takes. All musicians play piano. I already talked about that. Sight singing, solfege. I already talked about that. Compose music. Who likes to write? Anybody write music? Seems like everybody writes cool music. You guys write some music? Okay. Try writing in common forms. Find a form like a blues, or find like a kind of verse, chorus, like find a tune that you like, which is really cool, and write within forms. That's important. Don't just write music that is kind of meandering. I'm hearing a lot about that. Take gigs that make you uncomfortable. This is kind of for later. I wasn't sure who was going to be in here. But if, for example, you've never played jazz band, the band director asks you to play jazz band, you always say yes. Always say yes to whatever it is. Oh, I've never done a small group before. Oh, they want me to do a trombone ensemble? I've never done that. Your answer is going to be yes. That's right. Oh, you know what? Our drummer isn't here today. Can you try to play drums? Yes. Always yes. Always take everything. Never say no. I don't care what it is. Always take gigs that are uncomfortable. And the other thing is stop working on fundamentals. They never go away. As a part of your practice routine, you have to go through all your scales and all that stuff. I'm not here to tell you about that. You need a teacher for that. Always, but I will say, always take lessons and study something new. Never stop being a student. So I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but so right out of college, I went through Europe as a jazz musician. Played all over the world and done a lot of cool things, played with a lot of musicians. And guess what? Do I still take lessons? Yeah, you bet. I'm doing an online thing right now with a famous bass player, and that's why I'm getting better still, because I'm always a student. So you're always need to be taking lessons. Who takes private lessons in here? Anybody? Awesome. Private lessons, private lessons, private lessons. Never stop. Great. There's never a time when you should stop taking or studying something. You're always a student. It doesn't matter. Wynton Marsalis with his, Lincoln Center Orchestra, he's still checking out the guys that are sitting next to him that are the younger guys that he's learning stuff from. Okay? So then listen to other people on your instrument without fear. This was a big one for me when I was a young musician. If I heard a bass player who was better at one of these festivals, that was really hard to take. I was like, man, that guy plays circles around me. Don't listen with fear. Listen to him and say, man, I really like that he does that. I wonder how I can figure out how to do that. So don't have fear and go out and literally check out. There's like another trombone player in your section that does something you can't do. Listen to them without fear. Say, hey, can I hear you play that? There's another drummer that's playing like another something, and you're like, wow, how do you do that? Can I do that? And really listen to him and see what you like. Or maybe it's something that you're not interested in. Does that make sense? So always listen without fear. Check out your peers. Your peers are learning stuff too and help each other. They'll do the same thing. I'm sure they're listening to you and say, wow, they can do that. I'd like to check that out. The other thing is, I talked about this at the very beginning. Create art, not content. Content will not stand the test of time. Most of my students right now, you know what they're listening to? Old music. If I ask them, what are you listening to? They're like, man, I really like the Eagles. I'm really into 80s music. Or, you know what I mean? Like, they're all listening to older music because it was constructed well and it's going to stand the test of time. So, it's not, I'm listening to this YouTube star that puts out a 30-second video of virtuosity every year. I guarantee you, a year from now, that stuff's gone. No one's listening to it. It's going to be in the internet ether. It's going to be gone. So make sure you're trying to create art. And then I've got stay physically fit. Your health affects your mind, your dexterity, and your stamina. So as you get older, you're young, you're in a good space right now. But as you get older, make sure you're eating healthy and do all that stuff. And very few people talk about that because the way you play, it's physical. If you don't take care of your body, it's all going away in your mind. If you're eating a bunch of Pop-Tarts every day, no way. Okay, you've got to eat well to play well. And then the other thing is play every day to stay in touch with your instrument is the last thing. Who plays every day, no matter what? Does anybody here play every day, no matter what? Good. A few people? Now, even if you only have 15 minutes that day, play that day. Cool. All right. Bust out your horns. We got a piano player. And we got a guitar player. You got a chord? Okay, let's do it. We don't have a bass player, but that's all right. Can you kick some bass on piano? Sorry. Can you kick bass on piano? Are you pianist as well? Cool. Can you kick bass maybe on piano?
Yeah, I was going to get first because I played one of them today.
Cool. Let's play some tunes.
I am learning how to play the bass.
Oh, that's cool. Just say yes. Yeah, just say yes. Play the bass, man. Do it. If someone says, can you play bass in the company? You're like, I'm not good enough yet? No. Yes. You gotta all play.
I don't have them.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Like, that's how you gotta think, right?
I wanted to try mine, but the violin I have is missing a bridge.
Oh, well, that's a problem. You can't play the bridge.
Yeah, I get it by doing one better as well.
Cool.
Get the level
I got it in an internship job actually, so I might not even be able to make it sound, but there could be other things wrong with this, but we'll get to that.
I'm sure it'd be cheaper to buy a brand new.
Yeah.
All right. I think the guitar one is here, right here. I'll have you trade places. Plug in that guitar. All right, you guys might come up and come over here. So we're all kind of together in an area. You can get out of your seat and kind of stand up. You can stand up for 10 minutes. Let's do it. Come on over. You're not going to need to. Sweet. Who knows C-Jam Blues? Does anybody know it? Great. Let's play that first and see what we do there. Oh, yeah, I want to hear how everybody plays. C-Jam Blues. There you go. Now, if what is it, this is a great opportunity to learn, right? And you're going to have to be able to play by ear, right? Okay? So that's cool. Do you know C-Jam Blues? We're good? Okay. Do you know C-Jam Blues?
Heard of it.
Okay. All right, here. Okay, so here we go. All it is literally this. And the third phrase, 2, 3, and 4. That's the tune. Guys ready to play? You got it? You got it? A 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. What's the common form? Who can explain the blues to everybody so we can all play together today? We're jamming with humans. 12 bars. Who knows the harmony? A musician knows melody and harmony. We're just working on the melody. What's the harmony of the blues? Okay? If I say 1 to you guys in the scale, does that mean anything?
Yes.
So 1 root, so we got C, concert C. Now if I say 4, what does that mean to you guys?
What's the fourth note?
And that's the next chord, okay? And then 1, and then 5. What's our 5? Yeah, what is it in C? G. There are chords, okay? We're going to do them all as 7th chords. Who knows what the dominant 7th chord is? 7th chord, anybody know dominant 7th? All musicians must know harmony. That's a root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. We'll probably just have them in the piano today. We don't have time, but at least we can get the kind of progression going. So you got a C blues happening here. Dominant 7 has B flat. 7, right? Okay, can I play real quick? Great. So here we go. We got 1. We got the program. We go. 3, 4. Let's get that part ready. 1, 2, 1. what dictates the form as a musician? What's the next thing you got to discover? The phrasing. Well, the phrasing is with the melody. How about the bass line? Is everybody ready? So, here we're going to go. We're going to go 1. What's the note? C. 4. What's the note? And we're going to speak only in concert C because we're together. In C. F. What's the 5? G. Here we go. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go. Let's just do the rhythm. So we're just going to go C, 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 C. Then we're going to go F. 2, 3, 4. F, 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 C. And I'll give you the numbers. Does that make sense to you guys? Now we're going to get the form through the progression. Ready? 1. You guys got it now? 1, a 2, just roots. 2, 3, 1. 4, 2, 3. Back to 1. 5. Do it again. 1, 2, 3. 4, 2, 3. Playing the melody. Now let's go, can you guys play the melody and can you guys play the roots for me? Okay, now we're starting to put together form. You have to know form. What is this called? 12 bar, the form. 12 bar blues. You're going to hear it all the time in jazz band. You're going to hear it when you go to see the Black Keys play in a rock concert. You're going to hear it when you're hearing an R&B act. The blues is like a huge part of American culture. So know it now, memorize it today. You guys got it? Got your parts ready? 1, a 2, melody and roots. Well, it doesn't matter. It all kind of starts from a pentatonic. Who knows what a pentatonic is? What is it?
5-note scale.
5-note scale? What kind of notes? Which ones do we choose?
It's 1, 3, 5, 6.
1, 3. Yeah. 1, 3.
5.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Do 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 ba da da do 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 da. Right. So let's go ahead and play. We got the 1. 1. Play it. 1 C. 2. What do you guys want to play? You want me to play bass? What do you want me to do? Oh, maybe I'll walk bass and you guys can switch on the chords. Does that sound cool? Alright, you're up. Let's go all the way around. Everybody. Now, form means you can't get lost. How long do you get to play only? 12 bars. So after you've played your 12 bars, you're done. Use the pentatonic scale I just gave you. That's just the most basic one. Yes?
Wait, so we're just soloing?
Yep, you're soloing now. We got the melody. We've got the basic form and chord structure. And now we're going to go ahead and work on our soloing. So right away, jump into it. Never say no. Just start going. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. In jazz band, but what else? When you hear a rock tune, most of the rock guys are playing blues. Okay, when you hear R&B, a lot of guys are playing blues. It's a form. Now, if you really want to expand it from my list, you're going to learn some tunes and you're going to transpose them, and you're going to compose in the blues. Before you go, I do want to give you one more pentatonic. Does anybody know a different pentatonic that sounds better than that?
So that was C.
That was just a major. What about this one?
That's
Minor pentatonic. Here we go. C. Everybody C. I'll give you that. Ready? 1. Minor 3. Minor 3. E flat. Flat 7. Concert B flat. Concert B flat. Cool. Okay, so that's the one that you want to use if you're getting more advanced. Minor pentatonic. Here you go. We got 2 minutes. Everybody take a phrase. Everybody take a phrase. We're going to go around the form. The form's going to stay the same. Play me a minor pentatonic phrase. You go. A phrase. See what I'm doing? You don't have to play what I sang, but you know what I'm saying? Okay, ready? 1. And I'm gonna go ahead and kick bass over this. We have the right notes, okay? Just gonna do it. Let's go. 1. In fact, I'll play piano and I'll get you guys into your solo real quick. Okay, cool. All right, 1, 2, start with the guitar, 2, 3, and go. Switch drummers. Do you guys see how that worked a little bit better? Okay, what's it called? Minor pentatonic. What are the intervals? 1, flat 3, 4, 5. Which 7?
Minor.
Flat 7. So that's a go-to for the blues, right? Here we go. 1, a 2, a 1, piano 1. Here we go. Go ahead, take it. We know the bass line, we know what chords, we know 2 different pentatonics to use, and that's going to be useful everywhere, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Take a look at this list. It's kind of like heady and kind of philosophical. Do you guys know what I mean by that? A lot of philosophical, but hang on to it. Put it in your folder. Pick one thing to think about. Oh, I think I'll just adopt the log, the practice log. Or I think I'll adopt the listening habits. Or I think what I adopt is taking down my phone. Every time I want to look at my phone, I'll put it down and learn something new. You guys learned like 4 new things just now, right? And you could have spent 10 minutes doing what? Yeah, that guy has a cool Instagram. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, right? But I'm just saying, look how much you can accomplish in such a little time. Does that kind of make sense?
Cool. That guy does have a pretty cool Instagram.
Yeah, he is. It's an awesome Instagram. I love it. I don't watch Instagram. But anyway, cool. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I look forward to hearing some of you guys that haven't played, and I know some of you guys already did. It sounded good. Cool.